everybody. Thanks for listening to the Rundown with Ramon. This is Ramon Ray on the Rundown with Ramon. I am excited to talk to somebody who I followed and shared the stage with maybe once or twice or more, Angelina Darisaw. And she's going to talk to us all about how she's growing her business, but more importantly, Angelina, what we can have for the listeners of C-Suite Coach. So with that, Angelina, can you give your own introduction of who you are today, who you serve, who you are today? And then I do want to unpack that a bit and know how you got there. But today, who are you? And please leave a website, how we can reach out to you and contact you. Let us know. The mic is yours.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. And it is always a pleasure to be in your company. One of the most dynamic facilitator speakers I've ever seen. And I always feel like I'm in a master class with you. I want to share a little bit about myself quickly. So I would define myself now as a scaling CEO who is constantly in the space of learning and doing it so that I can be a better servant leader. I have been running my own company, C-Suite Coach, for about 8 years and am really starting to own our growth story, which I'm really excited about. I started it just me in 2015. By 2016, I had a part-time employee. By 2017, I had my first full-time employee. And by 2018, grew to 8 contractors. Now, in 2023, we sit with 8 full-time employees and about 50 contractors that we're working with on a monthly basis. Some of the contracts are so large, it is their only contract that they have to sustain themselves and their families, and continuing to grow. And so just really excited about that. I'm also happy to
love
hear
hearing that.
more
And
about
I need to pause and breathe on that. That's like major kudos. I'm proud of you, said as a brother to you. You know what I mean? Meaning proud of you. Just it's a beautiful journey. I remember us sitting together years ago, probably part of that journey. So just wanted to take a moment and say how proud I am of you personally. But please continue. Unpack that a bit more. Continue.
Yeah, I think one of the things people always want to know is, what do you actually do? Because I will say, listen, Ramon was offline asking me this question, like, tell me about like your life, your family. I am a older millennial on the cusp, on the edge. And I do have an opportunity. I'm what do they call single income, no kids.
Yeah.
I do have unique opportunities to enjoy my life wholeheartedly. And so I do things outside of just being a CEO. In the past, I've done such a great range, everything from hair modeling to being a judge most recently for Miss New York. And these are things that are my personal outside of work. I'm also on art councils. I'm really interested in art of the diaspora. But those are the hobbies, the things that I spend the bulk of my time in are usually not the most exciting things people see. I think that that's important to call out, because when people hear a coaching business, they think you're just one-to-one in front of people all the time. Our company is called C-Suite Coach because it's grounded and rooted in the philosophies of coaching, but the 3 services we provide extend way beyond coaching. So we have over 25 certified executive coaches of color. We match them with large companies as well as individuals to provide really transformative coaching experiences to help accelerate leadership development journeys and helping our clients achieve their goals. We also have a consulting arm that's quite big and one of our largest revenue generators, and that includes our ability to do program assessments, design leadership and diversity programs from scratch, or come in and operate existing programs. And so that's a big piece of it. Coaching is usually embedded in those programs, which is why, again, coaching is integrated into all that we do. And then finally, we have a training arm. So we build content to help teams and other groups perform better. And so that can be content around managing difficult conversations. It can be offsites for teams. So sustained training to help teams grow. Last thing, Oh,
Go ahead, please.
well,
No,
thank
no,
you.
I want to hear it all. I was gonna ask you a question though about the program assessment, but I want to get back to that after you tell that point, please. Mhm.
Yeah, I would say the last thing, and I'm sure I'll say other things, but last thing I'd say here, just on the growth story of the company, is we're working with some of the most prominent companies in the world. So for
Mhm.
6 years, we've been a vendor for Google. We work across several business units within the organization. They tap into all of our services and have for many years, but we're also working with other leading companies. In the recent years, we've been working with Wayfair, LVMH, Warner Music Group, we've worked with Salesforce. So we're working with a lot of major nonprofits, but also global leading companies, and a part of how they look at investing in their talent.
And why are they doing this, Angelina? Let's unpack that. Why are these companies coming to you? I think you've kind of said already, but repeat again. Why are these companies coming to you? What problem do they have, and why do they need your company?
Yeah, so now as we're at that place where we're 50 plus, I recognize we're well positioned to solve a lot of problems,
Mhm.
right? So in the coaching space, there are a couple of rising trends. One, ERGs, participants and leaders in ERGs are contributing a lot to the fabric of the growth of the company, but often it's uncompensated work. And those employees are looking for ways to, how is this going to help benefit my career? I'm doing all of this to add to the culture. So more and more companies are looking at, how do I recognize these employees for their efforts? And one way they may do that is to invest in them through group coaching or one-to-one executive coaching. So that's a way to really compensate them for their efforts by investing in their development, and they can take that coaching experience and grow in their career however they'd like. That's one thing. I think also just across the board, often our company is in conversation with other large organizations you might have heard of, like a Corn Ferry or a Better Up. And they have similar services, but often don't have the cultural representation that we have. And while an excellent coach can coach anyone, the reality is coaches with experiences that reflect particularly historically marginalized communities often have insights and even just the ability to create a psychologically safe space, which is really important in a leadership development journey. If I can't truly be myself with you and really get vulnerable and tell you about my goals, then how can I trust you to help me grow in achieving those goals? So where a company might reach out to us is they're like, we have coachees or employees
Mhm.
on our in our world that need coaching, but none of the coaches that these other providers have look like them. Can
Mhm.
you provide us with coaches who are just as seasoned, just as talented, certified, that can meet their needs? And we're filling in that gap in so many places. And our coaches coach everyone. In some of
Mhm.
our experiences, there are coachees, so majority white employees who are just looking for a great coach, and they find, I want to work with a coach of color or a coach from a different background because it might enlighten me to something or create a lens for me that I haven't looked at. So we have plenty of clients that also are not people of color.
I think that's powerful. And I'm curious, Angelina, how have you been able to, and I think of this as a question for myself in a way, but others may be asking it. Angelina knows how amazing she is. Like, I can walk into a room, I can dress this way, look this way, speak this way, do this way, think this way. But how did you start to make the jump? Okay, 5 people around the country with my name. It's not Angelina's name, but C Suite, but you know what I mean? Representing you, at least as you were founding it. How did you make that jump? How do we do that? How did you do that? Today, we're able to say, yep, Jeffrey, George, Becky, Rebecca, they're in Texas, Hawaii, New York. They have my name on their chest. How did you grow that and make sure that they represented well? They represented to excellence. How did that journey happen?
Yeah. So a couple of thoughts there. One, I think something you talk about a lot. I think you even have a website about this. Well, you
All
talk
right.
about the zone of genius.
Ah, yes, I do. That was good. Da-da-da.
Yeah. So one thing I would say on that is the more you are like, that's the space we should all be living in, right?
Mhm,
We should be clear on our zone of genius, every individual who's listening.
mhm,
But then I also think as leaders, we have to understand the zone of genius of the people who are working with us and always try to make sure they're operating in that. And when you do that, that then allows them to often create that excellence that you're talking about, that gives you that comfort in having them be in front of a client because you know that they're doing what they do best to represent you best. Of course, there's other things that we think about, like what does that onboarding experience look like? How do we tap into ongoing training to make sure that there's continued alignment? What does that even the interview process look like as you're bringing more people into your team? But I would say the core thing is making sure you're positioning people who work with you to do what they do best, because then they actually will do it better, right?
mhm,
And then you don't have to have the anxiety around letting them run off on their own because they're doing what they already do best.
mhm. Feel free to reword this question if I'm not even asking it right, but it sounds then not. Of course, I think all companies have to hire for attitude, but I guess if I'm hiring somebody at McDonald's, they come with zero experience. They're coming empty, as it were, except for their baggage, and I'm training them in something. But in your case, I'm guessing you're already hiring competent professionals. Maybe you're adding the C-suite methodology or a few things. Is that about right? That maybe that's a
Absolutely it.
differentiation.
Yes, we are already looking for folks that are credentialed currently.
Got it.
We're already looking for folks that have gone through those credentialing programs, that have a certain amount of work experience. And, we even do demonstrations to see them coach a member of our team live. All of that are things that we're looking at as criteria, as well as just their alignment with the mission of our company.
I love that. Angelina, there's a lot of, or a few coaching programs that I'll call giants in the community. I won't mention their name. I could, you wouldn't care because you can stand on your own 2 feet. But, books out and sold millions of copies of books. They've been around, seems like 400 years.
Yeah.
How do right? So you know what I mean. How do you compete with them? And maybe you don't even see them as competition. There's a market just for what you're doing. But I'm curious if you've been in the room and it's more to teach others, not so much what you're doing, but more so, when, as they say, nobody got fired for buying IBM. That's a very old school saying. But Angelina walks in the room with the 100,000 or 10,000, whatever contract, and big name company that we all have seen over the years comes in. How do you or your team address that? How does it feel? Or maybe you don't even worry about it. What do you say up to that?
Yeah, so there's a couple of thoughts I would have around that. The first being, one, really knowing what your niche is and what
Mm,
sets you apart. And I know I offline was sharing with you that I'm always working on the story that we're telling and how do we revamp it. And that's something that I would say I try to pay attention to on a quarterly basis at minimum, because there's always new awarenesses you come to when you're starting small and scaling, as how do I get people to understand what we're doing better? So that's
mm,
one. There will always be big competitors. Like I even named a few. Corn Ferry and Better Up, for example, are large. Like what is Corn Ferry? 11,000 employees. And yeah, we're at 50 something. All right. Okay. 58. I don't know, somewhere around there, not 11,000. But the reality is, I know exactly what we have that they don't. And when we're in conversations with client, I tailor the focus to that, what we are doing differently. I also think just good business development is always more around listening to your clients than selling. And I hear the things that my clients are currently concerned about. Often, if it's a company that's interacting around the world, they want to think about themes of inclusion, not just in a US sense, but also in a global capacity. They care about the certifications that coaches or different consultants on our team may have when working with them. So it's really listening to what they're sharing and then tailoring the approach. And then the more you stay focused on your core services, the easier it is. Yeah, there might be those $10 million contracts or whatever it is. And a part of me will always want them because I'm about
mm.
going after the bag. I'm
That's
hungry.
right. That's right.
But I have learned with experience that that sometimes that opportunity, just because it's big, isn't the right opportunity. And in trying to fit yourself into that, like being a circle, trying to fit into a square, or however the phrase
Yeah, I
goes,
got
what can
round peg into a square hole. No,
go? There
I
you
know
go.
what you mean. We're something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes what happens is you are now moving yourself more and more away from what you actually do well. And so if that's not the best contract for you, three smaller contracts that are in your zone of genius
Mhm.
may benefit you way more, because let's say you do get that big contract, but you
Mhm.
weren't well positioned for it. Are you delivering in a way that's going to meet your client's needs? And your reputation goes a long way. So if you mess something up because that wasn't the right opportunity for you, that can cost you more in the long run. So it might be just a short-lived win. So that's another way I look at it. I really just try to focus on chasing the opportunities that match our core services.
Yeah, I love that. And I echo you that as well. I mean, speakers are a dime a dozen, billions of us who go on stage or host big events. And I take the same approach as you. Yeah. Do I know there's other people? Sure. Many of us are friends. I can mention some amazing speakers, but I know who I am. I know the difference I have. So if you want a Ramon, there's only one of me. So I
Exactly.
hear you on that. Yes. Let's dive into the world of coaching, executive leadership, some of the things that you started out, the services you offer, Angelina. Maybe talk to the smaller business, not to the startup or the one person shop, even though you may have services for them, but that person that has 50 employees. I think of my friend Carter Myers Automotive. They have 24 dealers in Virginia. I think of my friend Yakov Yurinsky. He's a tech startup with, I don't know, 30 or so employees and growing. What's the need they have? Help us understand the world of executive coaching, leadership coaching. Who needs it? And I get the program part that you do, diversity, working with Google and others, got that. But talk about that leadership, the coaching. When do they
Yeah.
call you? What problem are they trying to solve?
Everyone can always benefit from an investment in coaching. I've been working with an executive coach. In fact, I have just coming up this week a session with my coach for over a decade. And my needs shift, right? There's always different seasons in which you want that thought leadership, that partnership on goal achievement. I would say for a small business, the thing to be thinking about, I saw a stat recently. I believe it's around the realm of 85% of small businesses and startups fail due to people related issues.
Absolutely.
So when we're getting started as small businesses, often we're just focused on our product or our service and getting really good at that. But if you're not focused on the people behind the product and service in your company and their needs and their growth, then you're really missing a big opportunity. So for the leader of that small business, I would say coaching could be useful to be thinking about just deepening the awareness of who am I? How do I lead? How am I receiving feedback from my team? How am I, if I might be a leader who's scared of difficult conversations, but I have to give that critical feedback to my team or they won't improve. How do I embrace conflict in a healthier manner, right? Those could all be things that a startup owner might want to talk about. If I'm an employee at a small business, I might want to talk about how do I navigate having so many different priorities that feel like they're in competition with each other because we're so small and I have to tackle this thing that's out of my role or that thing that's out of my role. And I might be feeling overwhelmed or I might be worried about my growth journey. Those are things that a coach could be really useful in helping that startup employee navigate. So at any point, whether you're at a big company, you're solopreneur, a small business employee, all of those, I think, as individuals, we could always benefit from coaching in some capacity if we're open to having partnership on our growth journey.
And what does that look to start with you, Angelina, or take the broader conversation, any company? But since you're here, why not talk about, C-suite coaching? Do I call a number, send a fax? Do I have to apply? Do you just say yes? Give us a sense of some of the steps. I'm a whatever scenario. I'm Becky. I own an accounting firm. We got 20 employees or whatever scenario you want. And I'm like, you know what? We need some help. Either our employees or me. I get in touch with your company. What now happens? Walk me through how that could or could not look.
Yeah, so clients engage with us in a number of ways. I would say we have a strong referral
Mhm.
basis in terms of how folks connect with us. So it might start where someone reaches out and they've identified that a full team or all of the leaders within a particular program at their company might need coaching. And we would, one, pitch our services, two, begin to learn more about the need and tailor a coaching program to suit that need. So that's primarily with big businesses. I will say that's really our core focus is business to business. So working with large Fortune 500 companies, large nonprofits, other large organizations. However, I do realize that the gap in the market that we're serving for big businesses is still a gap that exists for the general individual, which is finding access to coaches that might reflect my cultural experience or other experiences that are meaningful to me. So we have a great deal of Black, Latinx, growing population of South Asian coaches. We're bringing on a coach with an Indigenous background. We're very intentional about the diversity and focus on bringing on coaches of queer backgrounds as well. And so if I'm someone who's like, I'm a Black employee at a Fortune 500 company, I want to coach, we want to be able to fulfill that gap or fill that gap rather. And so that individual would just come to our website, csuitecoach.com. They'd fill out a form. We have a chief coaching officer, Marcelle Fowler, who is amazing. She has vetted and curated our excellent group of coaches, so she knows all of their experiences very well. And she's a seasoned coach herself with global experience working for leading US organizations also. And so she'll offer up a 15-minute consultation where it's completely complimentary and she'll connect with that individual to understand the scope of what they're looking to get, making sure they really are looking for coaching and not mentoring, not consulting.
Not hand holding or shoulder to cry on. Or
Yeah. And sometimes, that can lead into it. If they are looking for that, that could lead into another business development opportunity for us. So we don't turn those away. But in that process, she'll share more. If they indeed are serious, then she'll recommend the next steps would be a matching interview with 3 of the many coaches we have. And following that, they would get started on their engagement after they selected a coach. So that's essentially the process. The other thing that I would just call out in that is we do encourage if you have a full-time employer. So even if you're an individual that just comes to our website, we want to encourage you to ask your employer to invest in you. Your employer has funds, and if they're competitive, they should at least be thinking about providing funds to invest in your training and development. And that includes paying for your executive coaching. So we will provide resources like a letter for you to share with your employer and give you details on how you can start the conversation to say, hey, I want to grow here at this company. Can you invest in my coaching? So that's something else that we provide to individuals that come to us.
I wasn't even thinking of that. So, I mean, you've said this and now I'm understanding it clearly. This is not just for the big boss. We need coaching. Let's go to C-suite. No, this is for the employee in a larger company that may be middle management or not, but that's like, I need coaching. I want to grow. That's where the HR or the leadership team says, great, find a coach. And that's kind of that process. I'm new to this. So that's how that process could work.
Yeah, and
Okay.
our coaching
I
is
see.
really affordable too, right? So your company should be willing to make the very small investment in your growth. To that point, C-suite coach, the name.
C-suite.
I
Yes.
probably don't talk about this enough, but when people hear C-suite coach, I think what often happens is they think they only do coaching, which is not true. Coaching is one of our 3 core services. And as I mentioned, some of our other services actually generate even more revenue than coaching. But 2, they also think you only work with executives, you only work with the C-suite. The name of the company when I started it was actually a bit more aspirational. I was in that place where I was looking at data. I had worked in corporate America, large companies like ESPN and Viacom. And, the leadership, the C-suites often had very few people of color. So I'm looking for my inspiration, like who's the CEO that I can be one day that looks like me? And I'm seeing at the time, it was something around 4% Black CEOs in the Fortune 500. For Black women, it was like 0.2. I don't know I have to look back at my notes and see what the current numbers are today, but they're not much higher. And so for me, when I thought about the name, I thought about what helps individuals, period, navigate to the C suite. And most top talent tap into coaching. And so I said, I want to build a company that makes coaching more accessible so we can have, when I talk about workplace equity also means having leadership that reflects the workforce. And so we want more diverse C-suite. So I'm thinking if we coach anyone at any level, we can craft up that next generation of leaders that reflects more of our marketplace. And so it is not just about coaching C-suite leaders, it's about getting better C-suites that are more inclusive through coaching philosophies.
I love that. I love that. I love that. Anything I haven't asked you, Angelina? Again, there's about 4,000 things I could ask you. I've watched your work. You're an inspiration to me. So anything I haven't asked you that you say, Ramon, I really want to get this out to people, whether it's business owners, those who are working for people, whether it's entrepreneurs, you have a wide range of knowledge. So I know this is not the last time we'll have this discussion, but anything that you really say, Ramon, I got to get this out. Anything else you wanted to add?
Yeah, I would just say, maybe one thing for small business owners and one thing for working employees.
Please.
For small business owners, I know because you've been doing it for a very long time and already had 3 successful exits. This is my first business and it's been 8 years. And it can be something that you're putting your whole everything into. It can feel draining. Every situation can feel like a matter of life or death at some point because it's so close to you. I would just say you're probably doing so much better than you think you are. So, like, take a deep breath and recognize that while it's very meaningful to you, you still want to make time to enjoy your life and find things that you enjoy outside of life. We deserve to be multifaceted too, even as business owners. So I think that's important to recognize. Also, for business owners, just staying focused on your own journey. There are going to be other folks that are popping up in your space. And I've had to just put the headphones on, earmuffs, and tune out so much noise because the more you're distracted on who's coming up and all the competition, you're getting less focused on how do I just make sure I'm explaining my core services better? How do I find new clients? What am I doing to engage new customers? How am I growing? Right? So focus on you. For working professionals, this is a very interesting marketplace that we're in. And I can say this as someone who's working with the top companies in the world. And, if you are bringing a lot of value to your company, you should also have an expectation that they're bringing value back to you. So don't be shy about putting your hand up and saying, I need you to invest in me because I want to grow. And the reality is, when your company invests in you, those are skills that you'll gain that you can take anywhere you go for the rest of your life. So you should be asking them for training opportunities. You should be asking them for coaching.
I love that. And it prompted me to have one more question, Angelina. Before I ask this one more time, give us your website, tell us the name of the company, please, one more time, then I'll ask you the question. I'm going to ask you how you learn and how you educate yourself, but please, one more time, tell us the name of the company and how we can find you.
Yes, our company is C Suite Coach, and you can find us at csuitecoach.com. That's CSUITECOACH.com. Yes, please.
Love it. Yes, just going to talk about how do you educate yourself, Angelina? I know myself, I'm in the marketing space, so I read and go to events and all those things. Is it similar for yourself or is it different? It seems very cerebral, emotional, like you're in a whole, I can deal with WordPress plugins all day. You're dealing with people's minds. So how do you educate yourself? How do you learn? How do you keep your edge? How do you feed yourself to lead your team, grow your business? And then also, I'm assuming maybe you have clients you work with as well. So how does Angelina feed herself?
There are probably a couple of different areas where I'm always having to educate myself. And so one is just as a leader personally, how do I grow and become a better leader? How do I identify better talent quicker when I'm interviewing? How do I have those hard conversations I mentioned? And so for those resources, I'm often using my executive coach, and I'm also not shy about asking for help. So that might not just coaching, which is great at helping me understand myself better, but I might say, wait, I really need a seasoned HR consultant who can help me with this. I really need a small business lawyer whose focus is here that can help me redo my contracts, or, finding who do I need on that core team. Recently, excuse me, we started a board of advisors, and they also helped me with some of those important decisions. The other areas, to your point, with coaching, I'm always looking to educate myself. There are a number of great organizations that produce publications or have conferences. I also have the amazing benefit of having 25 plus we're and growing coaches on the team.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
we educate each other and share resources constantly, and I'm really grateful for that. And then I'd also say the last space, because we play in that lane of inclusion and equity and diversity, is how do I also make sure we're staying on top of trends and we're being really the best in class there. And so again, making sure I'm at those conferences that speak to those areas, making sure I am reading the latest and following and being a part of thought leadership in that space as well.
I think it's powerful. By the way, are you hiring, Angelina? Should those listening who are first class, great, amazing, certified, whatever the criteria is, coaches, should they come to your site? Or are you like, nope, we're full?
Yeah, we definitely always want to make sure we have enough opportunities for the amount of coaches that work with
Okay.
us. We have a large pipeline, but I'll also say we have been surprised that sometimes a company will say, we need to activate X amount of engagements and I'll need more coaches than I have. So it's always great to reach out to us. We do have a submission form on our website.
Okay.
So please share. And even if you're not a coach, but you think you want to work with a coaching company, I always am excited if great talent reaches out and shares how they may help us grow.
Got it. When you all expand to motivational speaking, I will apply to be the best C-suite coach motivational event host in the world. That's what I
I
apply
would
for.
love that. Listen, I might be calling on you for our 10-year. We're going to need a conference host when we have
I'd
our
be honored. I can already hear me now. Everybody stand on your feet. Put your hand together. Join me in welcoming Angelina Darisaw. Anyway, let me get out of here.
Yes.
Angelina, thank you so much. This has been Angelina Darisaw, founder of C-Suite Coach, csuitecoach.com. You've heard our discussion. If you need coaching for your business, if you need coaching for your employees, if you are an employee, and the other things Angelina has mentioned, just check out the website. Angelina is good, people. This is Ramon Ray, and this has been the Rundown with Ramon, featured on zoneofgenius.com and Black Enterprise and beyond. And thank you for listening, because if you didn't listen, we wouldn't be here. Angelina, thank you so much.